Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're replacing the front door speakers on this 2024 Chevy Silverado. In this install we're going to show you how to remove the door panel and factory speaker, including the mid bass in the door and tweeter in the dash. We'll head to the bench, show you the parts that we're going to need for the install, including the new speakers, brackets, and harness adapters. We'll come back here to get everything installed. Let's get started. Before we dive into things, one quick thing to note, our Silverado is actually the mid-generation updated version. Chevy and GM actually updated the interior of this truck from 2022 through 2024 newer. So if you have the 19 through 21 version of this truck, this install still works for you. Your panel will just look slightly different. Screws are in different places, and we can make notes on how to remove your door panel for your trim, but the parts that we're using work for the entire generation, whether it's the updated trim or not. Second thing to note, our trim is actually equipped with a Bose factory audio sound system. Now, if you have Bose and you're planning on retaining that factory amp with your new speakers, we'll make some notes on the bench on what speakers will work, as these aren't traditional 4-ohm speakers, they're actually 2. Now, if you don't have Bose, there's no Bose logo here on the front door. Any 4-ohm aftermarket 6x9 will work at this location. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this door panel off. First place to start to remove the door panel, up underneath this, in this trim truck, there's a little rubber boot, and it's going to expose two 9/32 or 7mm screws. Here at the bottom of the door, up underneath, you're going to have two more of those same screws. Now that's actually it for screws, only those 4 in this specific door panel. The rest of the panel itself is held in with clips up and around. Now I do have one of these panel trim popping tools. You can use vinyl panel removal tools. There's a couple of different tools on the market. This one at least helps us separate the clips that are holding the panel in from the door itself. Now I do like to start kind of in this corner and work my way around, and then it's hanging from the top. The panel should just be hanging there. Go ahead and lift up. On the back of the panel, you're going to have a few things, including the cable that drives the handle release. Now, all you have to do is squeeze in, pull out, and unhook it. And then lastly, you will have a large harness here, and it's the same on the passenger side. To unhook this harness, has a little lock. Pull the lock back, just like that. All you have to do from there is pull this up. It unlocks it, and then wiggle the harness out of the pocket. With the door panel now off, it gives us plenty of space to access our factory 6x9 mid-bass speaker. Now our mid-bass speaker is actually simply held in with one 7mm screw. It is a different screw from all the other ones, so make sure you keep it separate. And then the rest of the speaker is just held in with clips and pressure. This also has a lock on the speaker harness. Go ahead and pull that out, then press in the tab, and the speaker comes free. So, at this point of time with the speaker out, let's head to the bench to show you the parts that we're going to need for our install. Here at the bench, the parts that we're using for the install, first and foremost, are the speakers we're looking to install the factory ones with. Now we're actually going with these Alpine Type R. These are the R-S69C.2, second generation with carbon cones. This is a fantastic upgrade if you're either bypassing the Bose amp or have the bass trim audio sound system without the factory amplifier. These are 4-ohm speakers. And what we're doing in our install is part 3, actually bypassing the factory amplifier and installing our new amplifier so we can really install whatever speakers we want. These are 4-ohm, and yes, we have Bose, but we're not running this off the Bose amp. These speakers include a 6x9 mid-bass speaker, and then a separate tweeter, which makes them component speakers. Because our tweeter is not on the same plane as our mid-bass speaker, it's actually located in the dash. We wanted a speaker set that has, the tweeter has its own genuine inline crossover, and our mid bass has its own built-in crossover on the basket. Big note, if you're keeping that Bose amplifier, you're going to want a 2 ohm speaker in the front door. Our factory 6x9 is not a traditional 4 ohm with the Bose audio sound system. If it has Bose on it, this is a 2 ohm speaker for the front door. If you install a 4 ohm speaker in the 2 ohm place, keeping that factory amp, it's going to sound quieter. It's going to be less sensitive. You're going to be pretty disappointed with this output. To mount our 6x9 up, we need some brackets and harness adapters. We're going with the Metra 82-3004. Everything comes in pairs. We've already done the passenger side. It comes with a pair of bracket adapters for 6x9s. And we also need a harness adapter for the door, and it's the Pack Audio SH3802. It's a plug-and-play harness adapter for the front door. And our tweeter bracket adapter, once we get to the tweeters, we need the Metra 82-3024. This allows us to cut our own hole and flush mount our tweeters within this bracket. First thing we need to do is we're going to grab our 6x9 mid-bass speaker and get it mounted up into our speaker bracket adapter. With our speaker in the basket, we're going to use the hardware provided by Alpine. We're going to get it mounted all together, and then we'll get our harness adapter attached to the terminals here on the back and get everything ready to be reinstalled. All right, so we got our speaker all mounted up in the brackets. Now, it's pretty traditional with these Metra brackets that the hole provisions for the screws are a little bit large, so it struggles for these screws to have enough bite to keep them tight. So usually what we do is put these little nutserts on the back that are included with the speakers just to give it as much strength as possible so it doesn't come loose while in the door. Flip this over, we're going to turn our attention over to our harness adapter. Now simply here, we'd like to add just a little bit of high temperature tested tape just to give these wire harness adapters a little bit more protection in the door. So go ahead, there's going to be 2 sets of terminals, just choose one. We'll go ahead and get these connected into place. So really at this point in time, we're done with our speaker here for our mid bass. We can take this back over to the car to get it installed. All right, so we're back at the car. Now we're ready to get the speaker reinstalled here. We've actually gone ahead and sounded in the door and added some fast rings and stuff just to give these mid bass speakers as much performance out of them as possible. Let's go ahead and attach our harness. Do up the lock. Just tuck that down, make sure everything's plugged in. Now put in the tabs here. All right, so we got our mid-bass in. Now it does provide a couple of other screw provisions at the bottom if you want to use some self-tappers just to secure it a little bit more in place. But overall, that's about as far as that needs to go. We may do some sound deadening and treatment up and around the bracket itself. Make sure you double check and test your speaker to ensure it's working before you reinstall the door panel. Once you verify that, then the door panel goes on in reverse order. Okay, so our mid-range is all done and good to go. Let's turn our attention up to the tweeters, the 2 tweeters in the dash. Now they're covered by the same panel, but we need to tear apart the A-pillar, remove the A-pillar, get those out of the way so the panel that's up and over the tweeters can pop free. Just using a... We'll repeat the process on the driver's side. Whoa, horn works. We're just going to use our panel tool, and it's this long panel, so we'll basically start and work this panel up. This panel is what's covering the tweeters. So here is our factory tweeter. It's held in with 2 7mm or 9/32 screws. Go ahead and remove that, and then you'll have a harness connected to the speaker. It has a little lock. Unlock it, disconnect the harness, and pull out the tweeter. All right, so with our tweeter, we have our tweeter out. Now, we went ahead and already tested the tweeter, see what's positive and negative. And the one on the left generally is your positive side. One on the right is your negative side. Negative usually has that little blue indicator too as well. This happens to be the driver's side front speaker. So blue with a red stripe is positive, blue with a brown stripe is negative. Now here is our bracket adapter. And what we need to do is cut for the right hole size, and our tweeter housing for the Alpine is a 2-inch hole. So we actually have just a little jig that we use for our, so what we're going to do is use that hole saw. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut into that hole. Just like that. All right, so here is our tweeter bracket. Now we'll mount it with the same hole provision, so it looks like it goes this way. Put this on through. This should snap right into place, just like that. Now these tweeters also come with a tightening nut. Okay, nice and tight. Now you can cut this down or leave it long. We're going to go ahead and just leave it as is, but we're going to loom it just to give a little more protection. We're going to use some high temperature tested tape, kind of like what we use on the front door speaker here. Now this end plugs into our crossover. The crossover has an input and an output. So the output obviously is what goes to the tweeter itself, and the input is a little long. We can cut that one down, but the output here will connect together to the tweeter, and then our input is what we feed the tweeter, whatever signal that we're connecting into. In this case, it happens to be this end. Now, it does have terminals in case you go right to the mid-range, but obviously we're not doing that because that's in the door. So we're simply just going to cut this short, and we're going to hardwire this in because we don't have a harness adapter for the tweeters in the dash. So we're going to hardwire this in and use some crimp caps and crimp in and make those connections there in the dash. So let's go ahead and loom this up and get it ready for the dash. All right, so we loomed it all here, and the connection that connects to the tweeter, we just bundle that up with a zip tie. Their input side, we're going to hardwire that in, and like mentioned before, we're going to simply just use some crimp caps here just to have a nice crimped connection there. But you could solder in the dash. You just don't want to risk dropping any solder or burning anything on the dash itself. So crimping is wire on wire with these crimp caps, and it's a nice, simple solution. All right, so we went ahead and got our wires crimped on here. Here's our crossover, and it'll bolt up in that location. Now, we don't want this to rattle around in the dash. We'll find a nice place to zip tie it in the dash, but everything will tuck inside. We'll use the same two 7mm bolts to bolt up our tweeter back into the factory location. All right, so we got our tweeter installed. We put our crossover just right there. That's all done. Same thing on the passenger side. Can't really see it, just the top of it, but the tweeter and crossover are right there. At this point of time, let's go ahead and test everything, make sure it's working properly. Once we confirm if we are, then we can go ahead and reassemble this top panel. All right, so that's about it for this install video here on the front speakers. Trim went in nice and clean. It's all behind the factory panels. It looks OEM, but it sounds a heck of a lot better. Door went on great as well, and that sound deadening and sound treatment really went a long way. We also went ahead and sounded in the floors and back wall and as much as we could without fully stripping the interior. If you'd like to see how we did the rear door speakers, we'll link that video in the description. And we also did a full install video where we added an amplifier and subwoofer, bypassed the Bose amp, everything on this specific Silverado. So we'll link our full library of videos on this truck in the description at your convenience. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. We'll see you in the next video.